The storm clouds crawled low over the dusty Montana sky that morning when Elena Marsh stepped onto the worn porch of her family's ranch house, clutching the last envelope. From the bank, like it was the final thread holding her world together, the wind tugged her loose braid and carried with it the smell of rain. But even that wasn't enough to drown out the sound of distant hoofbeats approaching. With a rhythm far too deliberate to be a ranch hand's ride, her heart clenched, because she knew exactly who it would be. Everyone in 3 counties did. Cole Maddox, the Maddox heir, the cowboy whose ranch stretched so far you could ride half a day and still be on his land, a man with a reputation for being as hard as the steel spurs on his boots and as relentless as wildfire in August. Elena swallowed as the tall figure on horseback came into view, his black hat low, his duster billowing behind him like a warning. Cole dismounted with slow, deadly confidence, the kind of walk that said he already owned whatever he set his eyes on, including the land he stood on now. "Elena," he said, tipping his hat, his voice deep, smooth, and carrying that unmistakable Maddox authority. "I think you know why I'm here." She forced herself not to back away, even though her knees trembled. "The debt," she said simply, her voice barely holding steady. "It's due. Past due," he corrected, pulling a folded document from his coat. "Your father borrowed more than he could repay. The bank is ready to take the property, but I gave them my word that I'd handle this myself." Elena's breath caught, because she knew what that meant. Cole Maddox never involved himself personally unless he wanted something no money could buy. She tried to keep her chin high. "I can find a way to pay. Just give me more time." Cole stepped closer, his dark eyes catching hers with a force that stole her breath. "I've already given you time. But time doesn't fix a broken ranch. You need equipment, livestock, labor. What you need isn't money, Elena. What you need is me." Her pulse skittered. "What are you saying?" "I'll settle the debt," he said, every word deliberate. "But you're coming with me." The porch seemed to tilt under her feet. "Coming with you? As my fiancé." The word crashed into her like thunder. She stared, stunned, shaking her head. "That's not... Cole, you can't just..." "Yes, I can," he said softly, though there was iron beneath it. "And before you say no, understand this. The ranch goes up for auction in 2 days. I'm the only bidder big enough to take it all. Your cattle, your land, your home, everything your father built." Her chest tightened painfully. "You'd really take it from me?" "No," he said, surprise flickering in his eyes. "I'm trying to save it. But I won't pretend this is selfless. I want something too." Eleanor's voice dropped. "Why me?" Cole's jaw flexed, his gaze sweeping over her, not with hunger, but something deeper, something she didn't dare name. "Because you don't kneel," he said. "Not even when life knocks you down. Because you run this ranch alone when most people would have walked away. Because when I look at you..." He paused, letting the silence burn. "I see a woman strong enough to stand beside me." Her breath shuddered. No one had ever said something like that to her. No one had ever seen her like that. Still, fear twisted in her stomach. "This isn't a proposal. It's an ultimatum." "Maybe," he admitted, "but I'm offering you a future instead of a foreclosure." Notice, thunder cracked overhead, rain finally spilling from the dark sky as she grappled with the impossible choice. Lose her home, or tie herself to a man whose world was built on power and certainty, while hers was crumbling beneath her boots. She folded her arms, defiant even as rain soaked through her shirt. "If I say yes, what happens then?" Cole stepped even closer, close enough that she could see the rain sliding down his cheekbones. "Then you pack a bag," he murmured. "And you come with me, tonight." Elena felt her resolve slipping, her heart warring with her pride, her fear tangling with something dangerously like curiosity. What life beside a man like Cole Maddox would be like. "And if I say no?" His jaw tightened. "Then tomorrow the Marsh Ranch becomes Maddox land." The rain roared around them, wind lashing the porch. Elena looked at her home, peeling paint, sagging beams, cracked windows, but also memories. Her father's laughter, her mother's lullabies, every hope she'd ever had. When she turned back to Cole, his gaze was waiting, steady and expectant. "You're serious," she whispered. "Dead serious," he said. "Elena Marsh, you're coming with me." A shiver ran through her, not of fear, but of the earth shifting beneath her life. She nodded once, slow but certain. "I'll go." Cole's breath left him in a quiet exhale, like he hadn't been sure she'd agree. He stepped back, giving her space, but his voice held a promise that made her stomach flutter. "Good, get ready. We leave at sundown." As Elena turned to pack, she felt a strange spark under her ribs, spark that whispered maybe this wasn't an ending, but the beginning of something far bigger than either of them knew. And as Cole mounted his horse again and rode toward the storm, one truth settled in her heart. Whatever she'd just agreed to, there was no turning back now. The sun was setting in, streaks of crimson and honey across the Montana horizon when Elena stepped out of her house with a single small suitcase, locking the door behind her with trembling fingers, knowing she might never live here again. Cole waited beside his truck, not his horse this time, but a sleek black pickup that looked as intimidating as he did. Arms crossed, hat tipped back slightly as he watched her with an unreadable expression. He opened the passenger door without a word, and she climbed in, the air between them thick with tension and something else she couldn't name. The drive to the Maddox Ranch felt like crossing into another world. Her family's land was humble, worn, held together by memory and stubborn will. But Cole's empire rose like a kingdom from the plains. Stables, big enough to be aircraft hangars, barns lit with warm golden light, fields stretching in every direction like oceans of grass. She stared in awed silence as they approached the main house, a massive log mansion with wide porches, stone fireplaces, and glowing windows that made it look alive. "This is where your life changes," Cole said quietly, stopping the truck. She swallowed. "It's overwhelming. You'll get used to it." His voice was softer than she expected. They entered the house through a grand foyer with vaulted ceilings and a chandelier made of antlers, and Elena had to force herself not to gape. Everything smelled like cedar and warm leather. Cole led her to a guest room, large enough to fit her entire old kitchen, and paused at the doorway. "You'll stay here until we make things official. I'm not going to rush you." She blinked at him. "That's surprisingly considerate." His lips twitched. "I'm not the villain you've decided I am. You did practically kidnap me with financial paperwork." "True," he admitted, unbothered. "But I intend to earn the yes you gave me." Her cheeks warmed at the unexpected, gentleness beneath his grit. After she unpacked, Cole showed her around the ranch. Workers nodded at him with respect, some with awe, and Elena noticed how he knew every horse's name, every employee's story. He wasn't just a boss, he was a protector, a provider, a man people trusted. That night at dinner, seated across from him at a long wooden table, Elena found her gaze drifting to his hands, strong, calloused, steady, and wondering what it would feel like to be held by them. She caught herself, flustered, but Cole noticed. "You're staring," he said calmly. "Was not." "Was," he countered, and there was a smirk in his voice. "But I don't mind." She dropped her gaze to her plate. "I'm just trying to figure you out." "Good luck with that," he said. "Most people never do." Maybe they weren't looking hard enough. Something flickered in his eyes. Interest. Surprise, heat. "Maybe," he said softly. After dinner, they walked outside, the cold night air brushing their skin. Stars glittered overhead in infinite silver. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. Cole shrugged off his jacket and draped it around her shoulders without a word, his fingers brushing her collarbone, barely a touch, but it sent a tremor down her spine. "Thank you," she whispered. "Elena," he said, voice low with something deeper than command. "I need you to understand. This arrangement started because of a debt. But what happens next? That's not about debt or obligation." She turned to him, heart pounding. "Then what is it about?" His gaze dropped to her lips, then rose slowly, hot enough to melt the cold night. It's about the fact I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the first time you yelled at me for trespassing on marshland." She stared at him, stunned. "You never said anything, because I didn't think I had the right. Not until now." He stepped closer, the world shrinking until she could feel the heat of his body. Elena's breath quickened. "Cole, tell me to back off," he murmured. She didn't. Instead, she whispered, "Why me? You could have any woman in Montana." His fingers brushed her cheek, rough and tender. "None of them are you." The simple words hit her harder than any poetic confession. Her pulse thundered as he leaned in, slow enough that she could pull away, but she didn't. Their lips met, soft at first, testing, tasting, then deeper, fuller. The kind of kiss that rewrote everything she thought she knew about him, about herself, about what she'd agreed to. When they finally broke apart, the night felt charged with new electricity. Cole rested his forehead against hers. "I meant what I said earlier. I'm going to earn you. All of you." Elena felt her heart beating recklessly in her chest, whispering that maybe, just maybe, this arrangement wasn't a trap, but a door she'd been afraid to walk through. "Then start earning," she murmured. Cole's answering smile was slow, dangerous, and devastatingly handsome. "Gladly." And as they walked back inside, shoulders brushing, hearts unsteady, neither of them realized that what began as a debt would soon turn into a love powerful enough to change the fate of both their families. Love this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful cowboy romances, dramatic twists, and stories that grab your heart and don't let go. Your support keeps these stories alive,